And Martha, you wanted to say something.
I wanted to say something
to this.
Yeah, because I listened to Daktari here, and I also agree to a large extent for the role that NCCK used to play. That time. And the church I grew up in, I mean, even you, when you were growing up, you could name the number of churches with one hand. It was Anglican, Catholic, PCA, you could mention them. Actually, less than 10. Today, and I know it's not very popular to actually talk about this, and that's why even in 2013, politics and religion are very interlinked. Not very many politicians will be willing to say openly that we need a regulation of the churches. Because, first of all, we are beneficiaries of the same podium. So you'll get us playing, by the periphery. But I want to be sincere and say, today, how many denominations do you know on Abuelachi? In your constituency or in my constituency? I cannot count them. You cannot account for all of them. Every day there's a new church springing from somewhere. I don't even think they follow the Societies Act at all in terms of registration. So even as we say this is not a church thing, we, those who listen to reggae music like myself, there is a reggae musician called Max Romeo. And he did a song in the 70s, I think in the 80s, that was called Stealing in the Name of the Lord. That the church can sacrifice for the reverend to drive a fancy car. And that is exactly what is happening right now, by the way. Because you may say it's not a church thing, but people are using church teachings to actually exploit Kenyans and to lure them to their graves. Because how do you explain someone tells you to fast and he is eating himself and you are, you staring at death? We have seen them being rescued, some refusing to actually get an IV and saying, I don't want to be rescued, I have an appointment with Jesus. So I want to tell the church, and this is in a very polite, I know it's not very popular, whether it is the government that does it, whether it's the church that does it, someone has to do it.
Yes.
And we have to be very straightforward about it, because we may be unpopular as a politician when you bring it. I remember in 2013, we sat in the Senate with Elachi, and it tried to come to the floor. By the time it gets to the floor, these guys will have called you for so many meetings. NCCK, the Interreligious Council, I don't know who, they have called you to meetings to threaten, and we are going to an election. So you will actually cow down and be afraid for this regulation. But it has to be done, Sam, because we are losing a generation, we have lost a society, and actually this 73 should, actually the Red Cross is saying should go almost to 100. And if all the people who have lost their family members to this indoctrination speak out, you'll be shocked. And it's no longer about poverty. By the way, how do you explain the beautiful air hostess who had a good job, who sold her land and went to give to this guy? We have seen a lawyer transfer to some cult leader in this country. And there are very many, by the way. They are ticking bombs today. And they have bigger quorum and bigger crowds than you can ever get even in a political rally that is actually hosting a presidential candidate. We have to speak about it. And this regulation, it is either going to come from government or the churches. And I want to tell the church even today, if you don't want to be regulated by government, by using government hand, please draft something for your own self-regulation, bring it to Parliament, we will consider it. By the way, you can even petition Parliament. Anyone can write to Parliament, because if it is making the rules tighter in the Societies Act, give the threshold of what a church is. You cannot be having some forest and start with 3 people. By the end of the day, you're recruiting. So, and these guys are bad, by the way. First of all, they are very witty. They are also very streetwise, and they are very smart. So they will know what to say even to the congregants, to tell them tomorrow bring one more person. Tomorrow, it's like network marketing, the one we used to see with pyramid schemes. So they continue growing and growing. And you're told, when you come to Shakahola, you will not have more trouble. That's what the man there was saying in that what we've just watched. So if you have an issue, and by the way, we'll always have issues. I will just need to identify what is troubling you. And I will use it to ensure and tell you, well, come and meet your kind, where you will not suffer. You don't need to talk to your family. You don't have to carry the baggage of your relatives. Then you'll be safe. They all end up in these graves. So we must do it. Someone has to do it. The church should actually provide the way. If not, the government should.
And Dr.